Hello, welcome to this tutorial class on analysis of thermodynamic cycles. So we'll be doing such few problems in this particular tutorial. And before going to doing problems, let me briefly explain the first law of thermodynamics. So I want to explain the first law of thermodynamics applied to a cycle. Before going to that, I will tell what is the first law of thermodynamics applied to a system undergoing a process. Now, let we have a process. Uh, some volume pressure diagram, and system changes from state 1 to 2 by some path 1 2. So this is a system which is undergoing this process. So the delta Q is the heat supplied to the system, and delta W is the work done by the system. Then we write by energy balance, we write delta Q minus delta W is equal to the change of internal energy of the system, delta U. So the difference contributes to a change of internal energy of the system, and here delta U is equal to this U2 minus U1. So basically, when it comes to a cycle like this, again some PV, so we may have it like this. So the system starts from a point 1, it goes to state 2 by through a process, 3 another process, 2 3 another process, 3 4 another process, like that. So finally, at the end of okay cycle, all the process in the cycle, it comes back to the same point 1. Then we say that the system has undergone a cycle of operations. So so since we are having several different processes, we write. So this first law equation is applied to all the processes, and summation if you do, you will get sigma delta Q and sigma delta W. So in this, there may be certain processes in which heat is added. So where delta Q will be positive. In certain process in which heat is rejected, the delta Q will be negative. So this sigma or summation of delta Q gives the heat supplied minus heat rejected, or it is a net heat supplied. Similarly, this sigma delta W will be equal to net work done. This will be net work done. So since the system comes back to the same point, our delta U is equal to U1 minus U1 equal to 0. So that summation, okay, okay, all the summations will give, all the summations of these different processes delta U's will give it 0. So summation of delta U will give it to 0 because this is U1 minus U1 is equal to 0. So effectively, you can say that for a system undergoing a cycle, the first law is net heat supplied is equal to net work done. So net work done. So net work done is equal to net heat supplied. So net heat supplied is what? The heat supplied minus heat rejected. So this is how you write the net work done, which is heat supplied minus heat rejected, and you write efficiency is equal to, efficiency is something. So most of the time these cycles are for producing a certain amount of mechanical work or net work output of the system. So there are cases in which the purpose is something different also. So as the energy conversion process is concerned, we are looking at mechanical work output of the cycle. So the cycle efficiency is defined as net work done divided by, for that, how much heat has been supplied. So the heat supplied. So the net work done is heat supplied minus heat rejected divided by heat supplied. So you can even write it as 1 minus heat rejected divided by heat supplied. So this can be taken as a basic fundamental equation for the efficiency of a cycle, right? Or efficiency of a heat cycle. So the Carnot cycle is one of such cycles, and this is a theoretical cycle, and it consists of four processes: two adiabatic process and two isothermal process. So adiabatic process, dq is equal to ds by t, or delta q is equal to delta s by t if it is a process of isothermal process wherein temperature remains constant. So you can write delta q is equal to delta s by t. And for a process, adiabatic process is a process with delta q is equal to 0. Adiabatic means delta q is equal to 0. Therefore, delta s is equal to 0. So the reversible adiabatic process or a frictionless adiabatic process, we can also call it as isentropic process. So this is isentropic process also, where entropy remains constant. So there are two processes in which entropy remains constant. There are two processes in which temperature remains constant. So we can easily draw it, or the simple is you can get the simplest diagram of the cycle in TS coordinates. So let me draw the TS diagram. That is this is entropy, this is temperature. So this will be the cycle can be represented by a rectangle like this. It is like it is so. And this, let me mark the points 1 to 1 2 in during 1 to the process 1 to the entropy remains constant. So let me write it as S1. S1, the entropy remains constant, but temperature increases from T1, which is a lower value, to a T2, which is a higher value. So this is the process T3, which is taking place at constant temperature. That means T2 is equal to T3, constant temperature. T2 is equal to T3. And then there's a 3-4, which is also again isentropic. So maybe you can write as S4 or S3, or this is equal to S2 and this is equal to S3. And there's another process is 4-1, which is also isothermal, right? Now during 1-2, what happens during the process 1-2? What happens is that temperature increases. Temperature increases means the speed of the gas molecule increases, so therefore the pressure also increases. So this process 1-2 can be called as an adiabatic, an adiabatic compression, because why? Because P2 is greater than P1. So pressure is more than P1. So it's called an adiabatic compression. So the pressure increases and also temperature increases. So during 1-2, the pressure increases, temperature increases. During 2-3 is an isothermal process where temperature remains constant and entropy increases. So, and when entropy increases, there is a heat transferred into the system. So the heat is supplied during this process. So heat supplied is during 2-3. Heat is supplied to the working substance of the cycle during 2-3. So heat is supplied. So when heat is supplied, naturally pressure will increase. So this is also this process, you can call it as an isothermal heat addition, you can say heat addition. And also it is a compression, isothermal compression. This way also you can say isothermal compression. So in Carnot cycle, the pressure increases during the adiabatic compression and isothermal compression. 1-2 is adiabatic compression and 2-3 is isothermal compression. Okay, in that manner, we can say that 3-4 is an adiabatic expansion. That is the reverse. That is because that when temperature reduces from T3 to T4, the pressure also reduces. So it's an expansion process. So adiabatic expansion. Similarly, this is an isothermal expansion. So understanding of the process in this manner is required when you are doing problems where the words or sentences may be like this. So adiabatic compression. Then you must know what is the process. You should be able to identify what is the process. So for this reason, it is necessary for understanding the process in this manner. 1, 2 is a compression. It's an adiabatic compression like that, right? Now let us look at the efficiency of a Carnot cycle. So let us look at what is the efficiency of a Carnot cycle. So okay, the heat is supplied. So in this cycle, so for this equation, we must write 1 minus heat rejected by heat supplied, right? So what is heat supplied is during this process is the heat supplied. So heat is supplied during this process. So heat is supplied during this process 2, 3. And so 2, 3 is an isothermal process. So Q of 2, 3 divided by temperature T2 is equal to the entropy change S3 minus S2. S3 minus S2. So S3 minus S2. So then what is heat Q23 is T2 into S3 minus S2. That is a heat supplied. This is a Q23 is a heat supplied. Heat supplied. Q23. So similarly, where is the heat rejected? Heat rejected is during 4-1. 4-1. So 4-1 is also an isothermal process. So delta Q is Q from 4 to 1. 4 to 1 is equal to this is T1. T1 into 4-1 S1 minus S4. S1 minus. So actually this will be negative. This will be negative. So the negative of that you can write as heat rejected. So what is heat rejected? Heat rejected is so this actually will get a negative value, right? So to write it as a positive value, then you write it as T1 into S4 minus S1. So that you call it as heat rejected. You mentioned that it is a heat rejected. Or in the okay, on other way, otherwise you have to add this. For net heat, you have to add this. So okay, or if you want to write as heat supplied and heat rejected, you have to write just T1 into S4 minus S1. So now let us because we already written this equation as efficiency is equal to 1 minus heat rejected by heat supplied. What is heat rejected? Heat rejected is T1 into S4 minus S1 divided by heat supplied is T2 into S3 minus S2. So actually these two entropy changes are equal. So you get 1 minus T1 by T2. So T1 is the lower temperature and T2 is the higher temperature. So if the cycle works in between temperature T max and T minimum, then you write 1 minus T minimum divided by T max. So there is a 1 is there, 1 minus is there. You can easily remember this equation. 1 minus T min divided by T max. So there are some properties of this efficiency. You can write the efficiency only depends upon these two temperatures. And as far as working substance is concerned, no property of the working substance is involved in the calculation of this efficiency. So you don't have to use a characteristic gas constant, you don't have to use a Cp or Cv or gamma or anything like that. So the efficiency of the Carnot cycle is independent on the type of the working substance involved. And for calculation of efficiency, you have to take eta is equal to 1 minus T min minus T max. That is a temperature ratio, T min minus T min divided by T max. Now there is one point should come into your mind is I'm finding out the ratio of temperature. So in which scale you will measure the temperature or calculate when you want to calculate a ratio. So 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 we commonly use okay, different scales of temperature. Fahrenheit is there, then degree centigrade is there, degree Kelvin is there. If you look at the comparison between degree centigrade and degree Kelvin, the zero of degree centigrade scale is the melting point temperature of ice, and that is arbitrarily taken as zero. And we encounter temperatures lesser than zero also. We have temperatures zero, some places temperature is some minus 12 degrees centigrade. That means physically you have experience there exists matter at temperature lesser than 0 degrees centigrade also, right? So that way it is not an absolute zero. There are negative values also. So the absolute zero is something you write on the bottom of the scale. So we are having the degree Kelvin scale. The zero is at the bottom, which is the lowest temperature. Temperature cannot come below that. That temperature is 0 degrees centigrade. So the zero is defined at the bottommost point in a degree Kelvin scale, whereas degree centigrade scale is arbitrarily taken at some different location on the scale. So degree centigrade scale is called an interval scale where the difference between 10 and 11 degrees centigrade is exactly equal to difference between 100 and 101 degree centigrade. So that is 1 degree centigrade, that interval and this interval, as interval is same everywhere. So the degree centigrade scale data or temperature, you can use it for addition, subtraction, etc. But you cannot use it for division. When you are dividing, suppose I am dividing temperature T maximum, T minimum, say minus 10 degrees centigrade, T maximum 10 degrees centigrade. So what is the T minimum by T? You will get minus 1. So that way 1 plus 1 efficiency will be 2. So you will get into problems. So in the scale in which the absolute zero is correctly specified is a degree Kelvin scale. For, due to that reason, the temperature measured or temperature taken on degree Kelvin scale can be used for division. So for calculation efficiency or whenever you do a division of temperature, you have to use the temperature values in degree Kelvin scale. That is one point you must remember. If students make mistakes by taking degree centigrade, suppose it will be given as some 500 degrees centigrade and maybe some 30 degrees centigrade. So you cannot take a ratio divided by and some 30 divided by 500 and write the efficiency as 1 minus 30 by 5, and that is not correct. Right? So you have to convert that into degree Kelvin scale. So let us do the first problem. A Carnot cycle receives heat at 317 degrees centigrade and rejects at 22 degrees centigrade. What is its efficiency? So in efficiency is equal to 1 minus the lower temperature. Lower temperature is 22 degrees centigrade. So 22 degrees centigrade is there. By 317, if I write it is wrong. Right. So this the 22 degrees centigrade you have to convert into degree Kelvin. So add a 273. So this value gives the efficiency value of this particular Carnot cycle. Hmm. Now let us come to another problem of Carnot cycle. There are different terms like adiabatic compression ratio, isothermal expansion ratio, okay, etc. So I can take this. Yeah. Okay. So this is the okay. So we are having a data adiabatic compression ratio. Adiabatic compression ratio. So fine. Compression ratio is a compression process is there. The compression ratio refers to the volume before compression to volume after compression. And what is the adiabatic compression process? We know it is 1 2 is the adiabatic compression. So what is the volume before compression is V1, volume after compression is V2, and this is equal to 5. So this is the so by reading from the problem statement, so you should be able to write down. So adiabatic compression ratio is given by V2. Similarly, isothermal expansion. So what is isothermal expansion ratio is 2. What is isothermal expansion? Isothermal expansion is during 4-1. This is isothermal expansion. Isothermal expansion. So this is adiabatic compression. So for adiabatic compression, the expansion ratio, what do you mean by expansion ratio? So this is what is called expansion ratio. It's expanding. Expanding. Expansion ratio is value is 2. So definitely the volume after expansion will be more. That's why it becomes 2. So volume after expansion. What is volume after expansion? So V1, volume before expansion is V4. This is equal to, this is equal to 5. So these are the two data. So you should be able to write this V1 by V2 is equal to 5 and V1 by V4 is equal to 2. Like that you should be able to write from the given data. Volume at beginning of the isothermal expansion, 0.3 meter cube. Volume before isothermal expansion. Where is isothermal expansion? Isothermal expansion is this one. Volume before means V4. V4 is equal to 0.3 meter cube. So you can get what is V1 from this ratio. V1 is equal to 2 into 0.4. So that is 0.6 meter cube. So V1 is 0.6, then V2 is 0.6 by 5. So like that. So V1, V2, V4 we can write directly from the given data. Okay. Next, the maximum temperature and pressure in the cycle. So maximum temperature. This is this particular thing is a compression. This is also compression. So maximum pressure is P3. P3 is equal to 21 bar. So 1 bar is approximately 1 megapascal. So So 0.1 megapascal, not 1 megapascal, 0.1 megapascal or 10 to the power 5 pascal into 10 to the power 5. Pascal is Newton per meter square. So this way you can write P3. And the maximum temperature is also, so because heat is supplied here. So heat is supplied during 2-3 and the maximum T3 is equal to what is maximum number 550 Kelvin. So it is given in Kelvin, there is no doubt. So these are the given data and you have to find out, solve this problem. You have to solve what is the first data, the minimum temperature in the cycle. So how do you get the minimum temperature? Minimum temperature T. So T3 is equal to T2. So now you have to find out T1. So if you take, okay, T2 is known as 550 and T1 is to be found out. So something you work out on process 1-2. If you work out something on process 1-2, then we will be able to get what is temperature of T1. So what is the process? Adiabatic compression process. And something about the volume ratio we know. V1 by V2 is known. So what is the equation for an adiabatic process? It's P1 V1 raised to gamma is equal to P2 V2 raised to gamma. This is 1-2. Process 1-2 is like this. But what we want is temperature. So for temperature, if you write P is equal to RT by V. So P is equal to RT1 by V1 and P2 is equal to RT2 by V2. R and R cancels. So we get T1 V1 raised to gamma minus 1 is equal to T2 V2 raised to gamma minus 1. So this is a kind of relation. So what is T1 by T2? T1 by T2 is V2 by V1 the whole raised to gamma minus 1. So T1 by T2 is equal to V2 by V1 raised to gamma minus 1. What is the value of gamma is? Value of gamma is 1.4. Okay. So V2 by V1 is 1 by 5. 1 by 5 is, so V1 by 1 by 5. 1 by 5 raised to 1.4. So 1 by 5 raised to 1.4. And T2 is known. T2 is known as 550. Then what is T1? T1 is equal to T2 into 1 by 5 raised to 0.4. That becomes 550 into 1 by 5 raised to 0.4. You use the calculator. And this again you will get in Kelvin only. This is in Kelvin, so you will get it in Kelvin. So the minimum temperature in the cycle is obtained. So what is the thermal efficiency then? Thermal efficiency is then 1 minus T1 by T2. This is the thermal efficiency of the cycle. You can find it. So T1 is this, and what is T2? T2 is 550. So T1 by T2 is equal to 550 into this divided by 550 to 1 by 5 raised to 0.4. What is eta is 1 minus 1 by 5 raised to 0.4. You can use your calculator and find out what is the thermal efficiency of the Carnot cycle. Next, you have to do calculate the temperature at all the points. You have to calculate. Sorry, pressure at all the points. Pressure at all the points you have to calculate. So to calculate, so you are having, you know, the pressure at the P3. Okay. You know, you know P3. So the pressure at 3 is known. So you look at some process by which you can able to find out the pressure. So which process you will take? Now that you take 3-4, the process 3-4 you take, it's an adiabatic expansion process. So we want to relate the pressure at 3 and pressure at 4. So you know the equation is P3, but we also know the temperature. So it's an adiabatic process. Adiabatic process 3-4. So adiabatic process, what is the fundamental equation? P3 V3 raised to gamma is equal to P4 V4 raised to gamma. And this volume we can change it into temperature by that is using PV is equal to RT. So the volume can be written as RT by P is the volume. If you substitute that and do the simplification, you will get P3 by P4 is equal to T3 by T4 raised to gamma by gamma minus 1. This way we get gamma by gamma minus 1. So by knowing P3 or if you want to write P4 by P3, you write T4 by T3 raised to gamma by gamma minus 1. So P4 is to be found out, the P3 is known 21 bars. So P4 is equal to 21 into T4 by T3. What is T4? T4 is right now we obtained, it is T1 by T3 is again 550 Kelvin raised to 1.4 divided by 0.4. So that will give you P4. So P4 is now from P3 you come to P4. Now you are having an isothermal process. and you know the volume ratio V1 by V4, V1 by V4. So what is that process is an isothermal process. Isothermal 4-1, isothermal 4-1. So for any process you can write as P4 V4 by T4 is equal to P1 V1 by T1, and that is an isothermal process. T4 is equal to T1. So P1 by P4 is equal to V4 by V1, and V4 by V1. What is V4 by V1? We know it as V4 by V1 is 1 by 2. V4 by V1 is 1 by 2. So P1 is equal to P4 by 2. So now that you know P1, when you have P1, you can take this adiabatic compression process. So adiabatic compression process, adiabatic compression process 1 2. So what is the equation? So we want P2 by P1 is equal to T2 by T1 raised to gamma by gamma minus 1. So you know what is T2 and what is T1. Now that okay, okay, you have come to P4. You have come to P4. Yeah, we have come to P4. We have to calculate P1. P1 also we calculated somewhere. P1 is a calculator. Okay. P1 is calculated. P4 by 2 we have calculated. So so P2 by P1 is equal to T2 by T1 raised to gamma by gamma minus 1. So the T2 is not, T1 is not. So you can get P2. So this way you can get all the pressure values, all the pressure values. So all the pressure values. So that way you can solve the this kind of problems by doing this kind of cycle analysis. So we'll stop for today in this lecture.